Hello and welcome to Marketing Speak. I'm your host, Stefan Spencer. Today we have Justin Breen with us. He's the founder and CEO of BrEpic, or BrEpic. How do you pronounce
BrEpic, you
that?
got it. Yeah, that's funny because usually people say BrEpic. So that's interesting that the only person who's ever said BrEpic was my father-in-law, and he is a CPA financial advisor, and he actually told me that you had to pay taxes 4 times a year. So he still couldn't pronounce my company's name right. So that's interesting.
That's funny. Okay, and Justin, you're also the author of the #1 international best-selling book, Epic Business. Justin has a global network of exceptional entrepreneurs and is an extremely active member of Strategic Coach, which I am as well, big fan of Strategic
Yeah,
Coach, Entrepreneurs Organization, EO, and Abundance 360, which I just had a call a couple hours ago, an
yeah.
A360 workshop.
Nothing random. Nothing
Yeah.
random about. So you'll love that if you join. It's really interesting.
Oh, I've been in A360 for 2 years now.
Oh, you had the workshop call. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's. I have mine tomorrow or Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very excited about it. So
Yeah. Well, great to have you on the show, Justin.
yeah, I'll be curious to see what 3393 and I'm an 8671. What that leads to. I've always found that people that really understand Colby and are in Strategic Coach or have been in it, it's always a different level of conversation. So I'm very excited about this.
Yeah, me too. So first of all, we got to bring our listener into our
Yeah, what
kind of
are we
secret
talking
code
about?
of what we're talking about. So Colby is what we're talking about, Kolbe. You've been assessed. I've been assessed. I'm a 3393. You're an
Right.
8671. What the heck does that mean, and what's the relevance and significance of it?
Yep, sure. And I will try and simplify that as much as possible. One, because I'm guessing you're a 100% multiplier and I'm a 100% simplifier. I'm guessing, I could be wrong about that, but I love talking to multipliers because it's all collaboration. So Colby, in my opinion, and based on my experience in talking to some of the top entrepreneurs in the world, is the top test that I've ever taken in or out of school. And it does not tell you your personality. It essentially tells you your brain strengths. And it's divided into 4 categories. One is fact finder, and it's 1 to 10. There are no bad scores, but 10 is the highest. So I'm an 8 fact finder. You are a 3. So I do more of a deep dive on things than you do. Follow through is the next. I'm a 6, which is insanely high for an entrepreneur. You are a 3, which is very typical of the highest performing entrepreneurs in the world. You are a 9 quick start, which again is very typical for the highest performing entrepreneurs in the world because you're just like boom, 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 boom. And I'm a 7, which is high, but actually a little lower than most entrepreneurs. And then implementer. Implementer is working with your hands or building something. You're a 3, which is low, but not insanely low. I'm a 1. I would be a negative 300 gajillion million implementer if that number existed. I can barely install a light bulb, and if you ask me to assemble something, I will run out of my house. Things that a monkey could do, that a child could do, that my kids, my 2 young sons can actually do in terms of building, I cannot do it, and it horrifies me. So that's the simplest way I can explain Colby. And when you understand someone's Colby score, it's just, again, it's a different level of conversation because you understand how their brain works. Not their personality, but how their brain works.
Yeah, yeah. So for me, if you were to put a IKEA desk or something in front of me, I would immediately hop onto TaskRabbit.com and book a TaskRabbit to come do that
Right.
installation
Okay.
for me.
Okay. So that's very interesting. Imagine that a million times worse. And then my wife, she's a pediatrician, not an entrepreneur, but she's a 2 implementer. So if there's anything that we have to install, she hates doing it. She'll do it, but I just can't, I mean, I could do it, but it would be a nightmare for me. So it's a very interesting, and that's why it was interesting to have her take the test because there was always this conflict when there was anything involving assembling anything or using our hands, and that's why, because we have no implementation skills.
Yeah. So in your company, you must have some amazing implementers. perhaps some integrators as well. An integrator is actually from a
Yep.
different kind of system called entrepreneurial operating system.
Yep. Gino Wickman. Yep.
Gino Wickman. He's been a guest of my other
Of
podcast.
course.
Yeah, he's
Yep.
awesome.
So I'm reading Gino endorsed my book, but also I read Entrepreneurial Leap, and then I'm just starting to read Rocket Fuel because I'm the visionary flying the plane up here, and I just need to find that integrator because I'm not a manager, I am a leader. I am not a manager. And then the other book I'm reading is Who Not How, and I'm the person that needs to find the who to find all the other who's in terms of running a company because I'm incapable of doing that. But what's really interesting is that people with implementer scores as low as mine, or futurists, we're just futurists. Things I was saying 2 or 3 years ago that on a podcast are happening now, and so I can just see things. I can see things for the next 5-10 years. I just can't implement it or build it with my hands, and so finding that integrator is important for sure.
Yeah. So you don't have that person yet, huh?
Yeah, so it's been interesting because, so here's the dovetail to that, is that, again, most entrepreneurs are like you. They're high quick start and very little follow through, so they're all over the place, and so they must have that integrator. They must. I am high quick start and high follow through, so I just say it, do it, say it, do it, say it, do it. I can integrate very select things. And because I'm not a 9 quick start or even a 10 like Dan Sullivan, I'm not completely all over the place. I'm actually pretty focused. And then as a journalist for 20 years, I wrote 2 to 3 stories on deadline every day for 20 years. So that really processes your thinking. It's like, here's the story, here's your content, get it done. Here it is, get it done. Here it is, get it done. So I've just applied that. I can integrate one process, which is what my company does very simply, and I just say it, do it, say it, do it, say it, do it, just get results. But in terms of like building an actual organization of employees, no, that's not, that would be like assembling something from IKEA for me. Impossible.
Okay. So you have a PR firm that helps folks get lots of great press. Are these individuals? Are they companies? Are they both? Like, who are you getting PR for, and what kinds of PR campaigns are you guys running?
Yep. So I started this company 3.5 years ago with zero business background. I did not know what an LLC was. I didn't know what a W-9 was. Didn't know you had to pay taxes 4 times a year. So now I have a global company that works with the top mindsets in the world. I'm in Strategic Coach, Abundance 360. I'm on the board of EO Entrepreneurs Organization Chicago. So how did that happen, right? Someone with zero business background, zero implementation skills. So now I have a global company that performs at the highest level and works with the best people and then talks to people like you 5 to 10 times a day. So how did that happen? Because I'm 100% simplifier, and I've talked to so many of the top performing entrepreneurs in the world since I started this 3.5 years ago, I just realized it's a very simple formula, very simple, for creating a successful global company. So here it is. This is the entire formula. It's you see a problem, you create solution to problem, problem solve, successful global company. So see a problem, create solution, problem solve, successful global company. So that's all I did in the PR space. I was a journalist for 20 years, created my entire business model based on how PR firms annoyed me for 20 years. So I saw a problem, created a solution, problem solve, successful global company. So since it solves the problem, I have clients around the world, any business size, from solopreneurs to companies as big as Allstate or University of Illinois or Salvation Army, and any location, any vertical. It doesn't matter because my company solves the problem. Just like SEO, whatever, who cares what industry you're in? It's SEO, it solves the problem. And so the only people I work with on a global level have 3 attributes in their mindset because I'm 100% simplifier and I see patterns. So these 3 attributes are visionary, abundance, investment. Visionary, abundance, investment. So those people fit into 2 categories because these are the only people I talk to. So they're either running high 6-figure to 10-figure businesses, they see their families whenever they want to, and they do what they like to do and what they're good at, or They're going to be one of those people because they have that mindset. So it eliminates everything else. And what I really like, you know, talking to folks like you and people in Strategic Coach is that I can talk about things in Strategic Coach, which has changed my life in every way imaginable. But the number one thing is unique ability. I focus 100%, not 99%, 100% of my days in my unique ability, 100%. And that's connecting people on a global level and getting people news at the highest level. So this is actually very easy for me, very easy, and it's not work at all. I work 0 hours every week, so it's fun.
Yeah, because when it's fun, it's not work. Yeah.
I mean, I'm guessing because I saw the endorsements on your site, Jay Abraham and Tony Robbins, and all the great case studies, and it's like I can tell you just have a passion for this.
I do.
You have the scientific brain and a visionary brain, and you just combine that to create this joy and results for people. Like it's your superpower, and so people are born with these superpowers, right? They're born with this, but most people never they never discover it. They have it, but they don't discover it. And then two, if they don't discover it, they don't do anything about it. So I just did something about it because I have high quick start and high follow through. I saw what I was really, 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 really good at and what I really, really like to do. And then I just eliminated everything else. Eliminated it. So I just do what I like to do and what I'm good at.
Yeah, that's great. And so you said PR firms annoyed you in differing ways. Can you explain a bit more about that? Because our listener, I'm sure, is keen to hear what the big mistakes are that PR firms make and how they can avoid making those same mistakes either themselves when they're pitching the press or through the PR firm that they're using.
Right. So any high-level entrepreneur would never do this themselves. They know their superpowers are not doing this, so they would hire someone at the highest level like me that would do it. If I'm not exceptionally good at it or I don't like to do it, I just outsource it or I don't do it. So doing it yourself, I mean, that's the type of thing that annoys journalists. It's like, who are these people bothering me? So problem, solution, solve, successful global company. The problem is, as a journalist, you receive hundreds of useless press releases every single day from people you don't know. Hundreds of times a day you receive useless press releases from people you don't know. And those press releases talk about what you do, not who you are. And guess what? Nobody cares about what you do. But if they care about who you are, they will care about what you do. So I've created a successful global company by seeing that problem, creating a solution to it. And my company's process is on my website. There's no hidden tricks. Unlike most PR firms, I have no idea what they do except annoy journalists. My company's entire process is there. It's create a newsworthy story, comes a link on the client's website under news or blog, so it would look like a story you see in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel or the LA Times or whatever, and take that link, pitch it to media all over the world. Media is interested, put them in touch with the client. Problem solved. It just solves the problem. And so, again, any high-level entrepreneur would never do this themselves unless they're like me and they're in this space. But two, I don't care that my process is out there because there's no such thing as competition to me. It's all collaboration. Competition doesn't exist to me, even though I just said it, but it's all collaboration. And because I only work with people with abundance, investment, visionary mindset, they're all like that as well. There's no cost scarcity. They don't ask, what do you cost or charge? They say, what does an investment with you look like? They say, how can I help you? Not how can I destroy your company? So it just eliminates all of that thinking, all of it. And it just grows and grows.
Yeah. So that abundance mindset that you just alluded to, that sounds like something you might have picked up or worked on through Abundance 360, because that's a great group that focuses on that abundance mindset and exponential improvements, exponential kind of accelerating change that happens due to technology. So
so here's another good book. Bold,
Bold is a great book. Yep. So what's your MTP? What's your massive transformational purpose?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And his background, I joined Abundance 360 maybe 3 months ago after being on a podcast like this, who the host was in YPO and Strategic Coach, and I just kept saying abundance mentality is the only mentality. And he's like, oh, you should join Abundance 360, which he is also in. I'm like, oh, okay, because I have high quick start, high follow through. So I'm working on.
So you just did it, like boom,
I just
done.
did it, made the investment. But again,
Yeah.
I don't understand why people wouldn't do that. Like if you when most folks they say it but they don't do it. I just say it and then do it. And there's a very big difference. And even though I'm talking a lot in this interview, I don't really talk that much outside of these things. I just get stuff done. Just action, all results. Just get results because people at the highest level, they just want results. So I'm working on my moonshot now, and it's essentially what my company is just this giant incubator of geniuses around the world. It's not really a PR firm. It's just this. It's tens of thousands of people like you on a global level, and we're constantly introducing each other. So I haven't done outbound sales or funnels or any of those. I haven't done any of that in years because you work and partner with people at this level. It leads to this. You do this with this type of person. It leads to this. So there's no. I don't sell anything. I don't even talk about what I do unless someone asks. And so the moonshot is just 100 times, 1,000 timesing that. And there's another good book called Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, and it's really good because it talks about you make these incremental gains, these small incremental gains, and then all of a sudden you hit the tipping point, and then exponential growth. And so that's what my company is. It's exponential growth, and so you just keep the momentum going, and then it grows upon itself. It never stops growing. And because I only work with those people with those three attributes, they want it to grow. They don't want to hurt. They want to help.
Yeah. Now, how long have you been in strategic coach for?
Yeah, so first year and a half of my company, I was like, what's wrong with me? I'm an alien. I was going to these lower level networking groups. I'm like, these people don't understand me and I don't understand them. I don't need a painter. Like I don't need a painter.
Are you
I'm
talking
talking
like
up here.
BNI?
So I went to one BNI meeting and a lot of people get a lot of value from BNI, and that's fine. That is not my tribe.
Yeah, mine
And
neither.
so, well, no, you're not a bit, and then that's fine. That's find your tribe. That's the key. But so I've had mentors. I've had mentors since the start of my business, and 82% of entrepreneurs don't when they start, that's really horrifying. But I've had a lot, and so in one of the smaller groups that I did go to, I talked to someone, and I was talking like this, and they're like, "Oh, you need to meet my boss." And so all I do all day is talk to the heads of the leaders because I'm a leader. But so the boss I talked to was Gary Clavin, who's a coach and strategic coach. And so Gary and I would meet for lunch. He lives by me and he has an office by me. And so he told me about Colby before I joined the program. And he's like, your brain is strategic coach. Your brain isn't BNI. Your brain is strategic coach. So I'm like, okay. So I joined it, and I'm coming up on the 2-year anniversary of strategic coach. And so it's interesting because if I could only do one of these groups, I'm in a lot, and they're really good groups. But if I could only do one, it would be strategic coach. I mean, 90% of the way I live my life and spend time with my family and raise my rates exponentially and focus on my unique ability and only hang out with people I like hanging out with. That's Dan. That's Dan Sullivan. I mean, he's my hero. He's just
Yeah, he's
he is.
amazing. He
That's
is
I,
amazing.
he's a gift. I mean, the guy, he's a gift to the world. And I mean, he's he's just a gift to the world. And I wish more people knew about him, but the right people know about him for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been trying to get him on my podcast for several years now. we had a date, and then he had to move it, or his podcast manager had to move it, and
Have you been on his? Have you been on
I have
Multiplier
not.
Mindset?
I have not.
I would love to hear you on that. I probably that's my favorite podcast for sure. I listen to that probably 3 or 4 times a week, and I mean, it's just people like you. It's just people like you at the highest level, and I'm an innate fact finder, right? So my brain is a sponge, and I mean, you were on the A360 call where they had the geneticists from Harvard. They were talking about you're going to be living to 200, 250 years old pretty soon. And I was on a podcast with another genius like you, and he was like, well, would you want to live that long? And I'm like, If I could have conversations like this 5 to 10 times a day, yeah, of course I would want to live that long because I'm endlessly excited by that. I'm endlessly fascinated by learning really cool new things and talking to amazing people who are the 0.1% of mindsets, but they're the ones creating the businesses and brands that are employing the billions of people. So
Yeah,
it's
I'm a
very exciting.
lifelong learner myself. Yes, I love it.
Yeah, and so that's interesting because you're a three fact finder, but you're a learner. So you don't need facts per se, but you just love to learn. And I mean that's why because we were on I think I was on a guest in your strategic coach group or something, or maybe we were both guesting, and I'm like, oh man, you get it at a very high level. And so my brain, because I talk to so many cool people like you, it's just drawn to that. It's a magnet. And and then again, I saw your Colby score, and you're a 9 quick start. I love talking to 9 quick starts and 8 quick starts. And I only know 3 10 quick starts. Dan is one. Nick Nanton, who did Dan's documentary, is a 10. And then there's another guy who actually does EOS, and he's a 10 quick start and a 2 follow through. I have no idea how he does that, but how he does EOS with that score, but he can do it. So I don't know any other 10s. Do you? Do you know any other 10 quick
I
starts?
don't. I don't. Yeah, I don't. Um, so, okay, so we got to explain for our listener this thing about simplifier versus multiplier because they're probably not familiar with that terminology from Strategic Coach. So, could you
Right.
elaborate?
Yes, I will land the plane. I will land the plane. But that's okay because it's important. So I am a simplifier. I'm a simplifier. Dan Sullivan, he's a simplifier. You can take all this complex stuff and then I can simplify it. My firm can simplify it into a 500, maybe a 400 word story that media really wants to do and the general public cares about. So I can talk to someone for an hour. 55 minutes of those are totally useless to what anyone cares about. But if someone says something that's really interesting or what makes it newsworthy, I'll just go bing, and then I can just simplify that. And then I can talk to people like you, thousands of them, and I can simplify it into a pattern, like how to grow a successful company, why only work with people with these 3 types of attributes in their mindset. So I can just do that. Multipliers, and there's a lot of folks in, hey buddy, there's a lot of folks in marketing in that are multipliers. They can put something on 15 different revenue channels. They can take a simple idea and just blow it up to the world. They can just do that. Even though my company gets clients in media at a very high level, I am a simplifier at my core. And that's why I like working with multipliers, because I don't want someone to simplify my simplification. I want them to multiply it. And multipliers, who are all over the place, they want simplification. They want their message very simplified. And then they can take that and multiply that to the world.
Yeah. So a multiplier would be somebody who can, let's say, look at your YouTube channel and see all the different opportunities that would 10x or 100x
100%.
your view count, your watch time, your reach, and then a simplifier would be able to see all the crazy disparate ways that you are spreading yourself too thin across different channels and say, well, why don't you focus on these
Why don't you
3
just,
things?
oh, that's exactly it. Okay, so again, I simplified my entire life through unique ability, but it's what you said is very powerful. So I want to make sure I say this right. So for those who are not in strategic coach or can't invest that type of investment, what you said is very profound because you can just write down 30 things or 17 things or whatever, all these things that you do every day, no matter how however tiny the task is. You just cross off all but 3 that the 3 that are left are things that you really like to do and really good at, and then you come up with a mission statement from that, and then there's unique ability. It's what you like to do and what you're good at. There's your simplification. But Dan has a good saying, because if you're a simplifier and a multiplier, you're a complicator. So complicators aren't good. They just complicate things.
That's funny. Do you have a mission statement for your company?
Oh yeah, yeah. To connect every visionary, abundance, investment mindset person and share their stories with the world. Yep, that's it. So that's what I do all day. I mean, that's what I do all day, and I will continue to do that, and it'll just keep growing.
Yeah.
It just keeps growing.
So give us an example of a client win where you took somebody of that type, that kind of visionary, abundance mindset investor and people and technologies and growth and all that, and you turned them into the next big thing as far as the media is concerned.
Yeah, so I'm the outlier of outliers, even in journalism, and I found people like me are usually, but not always, aliens within their own families, aliens within their own community, aliens within their own vertical. Nobody really understands them, so that's what my company is a constant quest to find people like me, and they're the ones that just so happens those are the ones that are all these visionaries like me are running all these great companies. So podcasts are actually replacing mainstream media in terms of relevance and importance. And there's three reasons why. Three reasons, because I simplify and see patterns. So one, the host is an entrepreneur, not a journalist, so they can ask questions that a regular journalist would never ask. Two, you can do a deep dive on someone, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour. So it's not a drive-by 5-minute radio interview or a 3-minute TV interview. So you really get to know the person. Then three, the audience, not as large quantity-wise, most of the time, but quality-wise, far more qualified audience. So my clients are in traditional mainstream media like TV, radio, and newspapers and magazines, but now I'm seeing, because I'm a simplifier and I see how this is, and I've seen it from a firsthand perspective, is that being on podcasts is what's actually creating commerce, because podcasts are actually a transactional and transformational platform for commerce for entrepreneurs. That's what they are, because of those three reasons that I just said. So, clients from one of the top HVAC companies in the world, which is based in California, to Africa's top speaking group that went global because of COVID, didn't allow speaking anymore, so they wanted to go global and create virtual platforms, to a solopreneur in a speaker whose dad threw a crumpled up $100 bill at him when he was 11 and said, "Hey, you and your mom are going to need this when you're homeless on the streets," and he turned that into rocket fuel, which he calls his new book Rocket Fuel. To a promotional marketing company that makes gifts for folks, and they're helping that with COVID. So all verticals, all sizes, and then they're seeing huge results from being on these podcasts because of those three reasons that I mentioned. And it's essentially creating a giant network of commerce with these entrepreneurs.
So is there an example that you could give of a particular media placement or podcast interview or something that was particularly pivotal to a client of yours?
So you might be a simplifier then.
I haven't had the simplifier multiplier session yet, or workshop yet, so I would not be sure which one I am until I go through that.
So here's why it's tough for that to answer, because on average, it's not one. It's not one. It's cumulative. It's a compound effect. It's not one.
Yeah.
It's not one. That's what most people think. They're on one thing and it creates all this stuff. That's not how it's a compound. And so on average, on average, my clients, half of them are longer term clients, so it's 6 months or 12 months. The other half are projects, so those are book authors and smaller startup, those type of things. They're all have the same mindset, but different budgets to invest. But at the project level, they're in at least 15 media outlets for each story that my firm does. So that's all of these before. So it's the cumulative effect of that.
Mm-hmm. So can you give an example? Like, was there a particular book tour, kind of podcast tour that involved dozens of interviews, but that really moved the needle? Like, for example, Kevin Harrington and Mark Tim were on this podcast recently as part of a book launch podcast tour. for the Mentor to Millions book, and I remember Mark was the one who mentioned that they had been on 200 podcasts in the last 2 months, and I'm like, holy cow, that's insane.
That's a lot.
For somebody who's as well-known and busy and got his hands in so many different businesses as Kevin Harrington, former Shark, original Shark from Shark Tank, to invest that kind of time in being on that many podcasts. Now, he wasn't on all 200. Mark did all 200, and Kevin did many of those, but still, even if it was 100, that is a huge time investment.
Well, it's an investment, and it's a good investment. Since my book has come out, I've been on well over 100, and again, I've been on 5 podcasts where the host became my company's client, and it's I guess that's reason number 4 for this podcast. But I've had clients who are solopreneur CPAs gain $5,000 in new business every week just by being in Black Enterprise or being on TV or on these podcasts. Again, I don't. That's that's an ROI scientific question, and my clients don't ask about ROI scientific things. They just know being in mainstream media and being on podcasts gets them in front of the right eyeballs and stuff. So it's just not an ROI mathematical answer to that. So I think that's why I'm having a hard time answering it, because I'm guessing, I could be wrong, but in SEO it's all, or other types of marketing, it's like you do this, it has a 2% click-through rate, or it goes up this much. That's not how PR works. It's just more getting validity and credibility. And so what I hear over and over is not, hey, I need this to sell 1,000 or 1 million copies of my book. It's, hey, I need to create validity and credibility for my brand. That's what I hear more than anything, that we're tired of being the best secret out there. We have this great platform or great book, or we're running across the United States, and we want to be in media to create validity and credibility for that.
Yeah. Have you gotten any of your clients, particularly, let's say, author clients, onto TEDx stages?
So that's a really interesting question. I have, but that's not the direct. That's a byproduct of all of this. And boy, that's an interesting question, because my company is a giant incubator of geniuses around the world. Some of those geniuses run TEDx talks, and so I introduce my clients to those folks, and then voila, now they're TEDx speakers. So that's just a byproduct of being in this network. It's not only being in the media, but again, because podcast hosts are entrepreneurs, it's getting into that connectivity network, into that network of commerce at the highest level.
Yeah. By the way, the number of times you've talked about networks and connectivity and stuff, I think you should be in Genius Network.
Right. And so I'm sure I will, because I listened to Joe and Dan talk this morning, and I don't believe in anything random. I was actually listening to Dan's, I don't know what the title of it was, but it was Dan's talk at one of Joe's Genius Network events. And again, that's how I joined Abundance 360. A strategic coach guy was saying, hey, you need to be in Abundance 360. And so eventually 100% I will be in that. There's no doubt. It's just making sure that the ones I am in, I invest the most amount of time in it as possible. And then when something else falls away, then that'll probably be the next one I join.
Yeah. Okay. So highly recommend you do it sooner rather than later, but I'll leave it to you and divine timing to figure that out.
Yeah, but again, I literally listened to Joe Polish today, and I love marketing, ELF, all of the easy, lucrative, and fun. That's what my company is. It's ELF most of the time. It's just easy, lucrative, and fun. So it's already, the seeds are planted. So
yeah.
Thanks for saying that.
And for the listener who is not familiar with Joe Polish, first of all, definitely check out the interview I did of Joe on this podcast. It's going
Oh,
to be
I'd
well
love to
worth your
listen.
time.
Yeah. Send me that link if you get a chance.
I
I'll
will
listen.
do that. I will do that. And so the opposite of an elf business, an easy, lucrative, and fun business, is a half business, and you know what that stands for, right?
So here's why I don't. And I've listened to him say half as much as I've heard him say elf, but because I'm abundance visionary, I just ignore it.
Yeah,
So
that's
I don't
funny.
know what it is. I don't know.
Well, I have a mind like a steel trap, so I remember all this stuff.
Right.
Hard,
Right.
annoying, lame, and frustrating.
Right. Yeah, that's the opposite of mine is just all elf. It's all elf.
Yeah,
So
I mean, why, life's too short to have a half business or to have anything other than an elf business. Like, why would you do that? Why would you
why would
create
you do
something
that? That's
that's,
what I mean. Why would you not want to work with the top mindsets in the world? Why would you not want to work with the most innovative things? Why would you not want to be in a room with the coolest people? But again, most people are not like that. They're not like that. But again, I'm a synthesizer, simplifier, and so this is all it is, right? This is the whole thing. Is right mindset leads to right network, which creates right opportunities. All
yeah,
this other stuff, landing the plane. That's why I get annoyed with landing the plane questions because I don't want to land the plane. I just know that the right mindset leads to the right network, which creates the right opportunities.
yeah.
That's all it is.
One thing I've noticed about our conversation is that you like the labels that you picked up from Strategic Coach and Abundance 360 and EO and so forth, EOS.
Yep.
And for somebody who's an outsider, they might think that it might sound a bit arrogant. Like,
Wow.
I'm a
Um,
synthesizer.
keep
I'm a
going.
visionary. And, I just want to clarify for the listener who might think that a
Right on.
visionary is not a term that's arrogant if
Nope.
you're referring to the label of visionary from EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System, which is the person who heads the company. And the person who directly reports to the visionary is the integrator. So if you're talking about, hey, I'm an integrator, I'm an integrator, I'm an integrator, and this is somebody that you're talking to who is an integrator in terms of EOS terminology, that is a very specific thing with a certain set of skills and abilities, and they relish that fact that they have identified that unique ability and they're focused on it. So I just want to make that
Yeah.
clarification for those folks
Sure.
who might think that it sounds arrogant.
Yeah. Okay. So let me really help with that. So this is one of the chapters in my book. Um, I
Which
can
chapter
read
is that?
27. Confidence is a great thing and an awesome attractor to other confident people. Okay. So here are the two words: confidence, arrogance. There's a huge life-changing difference. And I don't care per se, but I'm just telling you this. Forbes just did a big article about how I built a global company. And then I talked about this in that article. And so arrogant people think they're great at everything. They think they're great at everything. I am terrible at almost everything. I mean, I can barely install a light bulb. An arrogant person thinks they can be great at everything or thinks they are great at everything. Confident people know their zones of genius superpowers and more importantly know their limitations, and then that's why they need, for the most part, if the integrator is terrible at visionary, they need a visionary. If the visionary is terrible at integrator, they need an integrator. And so it's all collaborative. So people who think this conversation is arrogant, they don't know the difference between confidence and arrogance, because I'll tell you, a lot of the people that think I come off as arrogant are lawyers who are lawyers, as opposed to an entrepreneur who happens to be a lawyer. Very big difference. They think it comes off as arrogant. It's actually the exact opposite of arrogance.
Yeah, that's a great clarification.
Yep.
Speaking of confidence, I remember one thing that really landed for me when I heard it from Dan Sullivan is that the entrepreneur's number one job is to protect their confidence.
That's my cover photo on my Facebook page. Hold on a minute. Oh wait. Oh, I just changed it. Hold on. I'll show you. I literally. Oh, so right now this is what I have now. I don't know if you can see it, but it says
Yeah, I can't really
entrepreneurs
see
have
it.
a mind. Right. they have a mindset that change is very exciting and very good. But I literally just had that um, within the last 2 or 3 cover photos. That's exactly what I had. And because I know at connecting people on a global level and getting people news at the highest level, there are very few people in the world that are better at than I am. I don't think that. I know that. I know that. And I also know that I am useless besides that. Useless. And so I don't do anything that I'm not useless at, or that I'm useless at, because why would I do that?
Yeah.
And so
So many
that is
people
not
work on
arrogant.
shoring up their weaknesses instead of just staying with their strengths. I just find it bizarre.
I mean, that's what who not how. I mean, you just find the who to do all this stuff. You don't figure out how to do it. I don't know how to do anything other than the 2 things I'm really good at. So I'm not going to do it. I just find the who that can do it.
Yeah. Now, so you just held up the Who Not How book. How far into the book are you?
Let's see. I'm about. So I never read a full book. I just scan it. But
Me neither.
yeah, well,
Rarely. Once in a while I'll read a full book, but
so the best part is, and one of my clients slash best friends slash someone who's also in strategic coaching, he's a 5582. He sent me this passage. Unless you're brilliant at finding who's, you should probably find a who to find your who's. That's the part of the book that was like, oh my God, just find. So you asked me about my moonshot. I'm trying to find my Babs. I'm just trying to find the Babs.
yeah.
That's because Babs does all the stuff in strategic coach that, you know, she can build the company or find the integrators. Dan's not going to be able to do that, so he doesn't do that.
Yeah. So Babs is Dan's wife, and
Right.
Dan has said so many times that if it weren't for Babs, he'd be a high
Drunk,
a high
smart drunk,
performing drunk.
right? Smart drunk, right? And so my wife, this is the same but different. My wife's a pediatrician, not an entrepreneur. She's the sweetest, kindest, most loving, empathetic. On Strength Finders, I'm dead last in empathy, but that's interesting because for the people who think like I do, and or people like you at the highest level, I'm extremely empathetic and I care deeply for them. Um, but she has, and she's a successful doctor, so she's given me this runway. She's given me this runway to fly the plane. And so now, because my company's been successful, she's gone from full time to part time. She spends more time with our young sons. So she's my Babs in a way, but she's not going to build a company. Her company is my family, like this house and the, raising children and being a human. So she's made me barely a human. Like she's just maybe just barely human enough, and then I've made her more of a risk taker. So it's been a nice little rubbing off on each other kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sounds like you got a wonderful family. I would love to know what your top 5 Strengths Finder
You want to
strengths
know?
are. Yeah.
Hold on. I'll tell you right now.
Or you just don't have them memorized?
Well, because I always look at all 34. So here, you're going to love this. And I'm guessing you have similar 5. So 1 is activator, 2 is maximizer, 3 is achiever, 4 is competition, and 5 is responsibility. So if that's not the top 5 of a high-level entrepreneur, I don't know what are. But
well, you know what? I don't have any of those in my top 5.
I am shocked.
Okay, so here's my top 5.
Yeah.
Futuristic,
okay.
Input. Like my brain is a file cabinet the size of Google. Like I could just rattle off all these different things.
Your scientific brain. I'm 25 in input and 20 in futuristic.
Yeah. So I have a master's in biochemistry. I was going for a PhD, and I dropped out to start a company. So input, then ideation. Okay.
Right.
Strategic, and then learner.
So you have science brain and you brought that into the future with entrepreneur brain. That's super interesting. That's really interesting. And I mean that's what you did. So most people with your brain just stay in the ivory tower, higher ed, and never leave there. They just never leave there. They never leave the ivory tower. You left the ivory tower.
Well, not only did I leave the ivory tower, I went over into the whole kind of personal development, transformative, ethereal sort of higher power, higher purpose sort of side of it too. So, like
And
I
I
had
seem
a big
like a bunch of
transformation in India where I connected with the divine, with the creator, and I was blessed by a monk. And when he touched my head, I had this like
that was
psychedelic
your moment.
experience, and yeah, so I was completely transformed from that back in 2012, and then all these miracles started happening in my life. And yeah, it's like you can order up miracles. We all can, and we just are choosing to tap ourselves out, or like to disconnect ourselves from all that abundance. It's crazy.
Right mindset creates right network, creates right opportunities. When you open yourself, I don't believe in anything random. We were destined to have this conversation. I mean, we were just meant to have this conversation. You were meant to tell me to join Genius Network. That's not random. I just don't believe in randomness. And so I think why I like you so much is we're total collaborators. We're totally different, yet there's no competition. It's all collaboration.
Yeah.
And when
Yeah, in
you
fact,
open yourself
whenever
up,
somebody thinks that they're competitors, really,
there's no.
it's cooperators. Like it's coopetition. That's actually the title of a book,
Right.
coopetition. Right? You're always looking for 1 + 1 = 3, or 7, or 51. Not the idea of a zero sum game. Like that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I don't even know. So it's very interesting because 99. If someone asks me, they're like, "Who do you work with?" I go, "I work with the top 0.1% of mindsets because those are the ones that change the world." So by working with people like you, you're helping everybody for the most part. You're just choosing to spend your time with this 0.1%, which makes sense because those are the ones that those are the ones that create the companies and the ideas. And we were talking about integrators before. Thank God there's more integrators than visionaries. I mean, because nothing would get done. Nothing would get done if everyone was a visionary.
Well, you know
Just
what is funny though? Apparently, according to Gino Wickman, point what is it? No, 1% of people are integrators or have that capability to be an
true
integrator.
integrators.
Yeah, to be a
I
true
believe that.
integrator in his definition from EOS, 1%. Now, entrepreneurs, 5%. So the other 95% of people are going to fail terribly at entrepreneurship
No,
because
they
they're not
can't do it.
wired for it,
No,
or they're under this entrepreneurial delusion and they will eventually fail. But
they'll fizzle out.
yeah,
And so here's the real entrepreneur life. Here's the real, again, because I just see patterns and I simplify. So I have not met one. And if you know someone who doesn't fall into this, please introduce me to them because I'd love to meet them. And if it's you, please tell me. But so I have not met one of the highest performing entrepreneurs in the world that has not overcome at least one of the following four things. At least one. Most of them are two or three, and some are all four. The all four ones are insanely successful. But here it is: one, bankruptcy or potential bankruptcy; two, depression; three, the highest level of anxiety you can imagine; and four, likely and/or possible traumatic experiences as a child or young adult. So I haven't met one entrepreneur that at a really high level one that hasn't overcome those. Not only has overcome them, but has used it as fuel to propel them and learn from those experiences and then just 10x that experience into positivity and abundance. So if you know someone that has not overcome at least one of those four things, please introduce me because I haven't met one yet. So
yeah. I just interviewed Susie Batiste, who created Poopery, the 9-figure brand that she invented out of her home, and she was twice bankrupt. She
entrepreneur life.
was a victim of domestic violence, and
Yep,
I do believe she had childhood traumas. Like she had
of
probably all
course.
four. Uh, yeah,
Yep.
I didn't have all four. I've never been bankrupt,
Me
but
neither. I've had the other three, but not bankrupt. So we're the same. Hey, do you know Mike Malatesta, by the way?
no, I don't.
Uh, I'll intro I'll introduce you to him.
Okay, awesome.
That's a you'll see.
Okay.
It's he's in strategic coach also.
Well, you are a super connector, and so I appreciate any connections you'll make because
That's
when
a good one. That's a good one.
the book The Tipping Point, which I love, I did read that one cover to cover by Malcolm Gladwell. It talks about three types of people, three archetypes: maven, connector, and salesperson. I'm curious to hear your take on that. Like, I consider myself a connector as well, but I also consider myself a maven. So I'm not sure.
Yep. I'm a
Uh,
Maven connector, and I don't sell anything. I don't sell anything.
I mean, I technically I sell
Well,
because
right,
I'm the
but
only
I don't.
salesperson in my company,
Right.
but I it doesn't light me up. I mean, helping people lights me up. And as long as I'm helping people and it just happens to be an exchange of value in terms of a commercial transaction, great. But I've donated and volunteered plenty of to worthy organizations who couldn't afford me. And that lights me up, just making a difference for people that are making a difference for other people.
So the email I just got today is, "Hey Justin, would you consider taking me on as a client? And if so, here's the motivation behind me reaching out." So the people reach out to me. I just, if they ask what I do, I tell them. If not, it's just a great conversation like this. And you know right away when someone's the real deal like you and when someone isn't. So
Yep. Yeah.
that's it. Cool,
Yeah.
man.
All
Love
right.
it.
So we're at the end here. Where should we send our listener to if they wanted to work with you, work with your PR firm, if they wanted to follow you and learn from you? Where should we send them?
Yeah, sure. So here's the book, which it's always funny because I never talk about the book. And
Epic
Chris Voss,
Business. Yes.
yeah, Chris Voss wrote the foreword. So anybody who knows anything, knows Chris Voss and never split the difference.
Chris
His son
Voss
is,
is amazing.
yeah,
That's one of my favorite business books. Is
of
Never
course,
Split
right,
the Difference, and
right,
Chris has been a guest on the podcast.
of course, right. And Chris's son's Brandon was in my first strategic coach group. So there you go. And Brandon Voss, the first one who called me the connector, to answer your other question. So to answer your question, Justin Breen on LinkedIn. I just passed 24,000 followers there. Most of them are high-level entrepreneurs and journalists. So I use LinkedIn as a commercial for others, and then the book is called Epic Business. So thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Well, very good. This has been a lot of fun and a lot of wisdom dropped. Much of it from other
Yes.
thought leaders, or should I say, result leaders. And
Result. Ooh, that's good. I like that.
well, that's from
Result.
Joe Polish.
I
I'm not
didn't
claiming
know that.
credit. I'm not claiming credit
That's
for that
good.
one.
Good.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has just been a lot of fun. And Justin, have a great rest of your week. Listener, please take some of what you've learned and make a difference out there in the world. This isn't just passive learning and
No, no.
edutainment.
This
This
is
is about
real.
making a difference.
Yeah, this is the real. This is billions of dollars in financial and life advice here for sure, if not trillions, probably trillions. So
Well, it's priceless. It's
priceless.
priceless.
Thank you. That's even better. That's better. I knew this would be great, and thanks for making it great. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Justin.